Welcome back to Second Breakfast and our ongoing gaming discussions, bringing you the best thoughts, theories, and literary analysis this side of hell.
You thought we were done with Doom. We're not. There's more Doom to be had.
I thought we were done. So we did an episode this past Tuesday on Doom Eternal, and it was kind of a retrospective 5 years later because I was as mixed as most people were on Doom Eternal when it came out. And I mentioned at the very tail of that episode where I realized I absolutely love Doom Eternal, and it's by far the best Doom game. I mentioned that I'd started to play the expansion, Doom the Ancient Gods. And it's 3 days later, and I'm I'm throwing off our whole scheduling program here because I have to talk about Doom the Ancient Gods. Not just because I enjoyed it, even though I did, but because of what happened when I finished it. So this is a campaign DLC. It's an expansion. It's a vanishingly rare and extra wonderful thing for a diehard single-player gamer like me. And this release was broken across 2 parts. So it came out after Doom Eternal in 2020 as Doom the Ancient Gods Part 1 and Part 2.
How far apart were the 2 parts 1 and 2?
I don't think they were that long. I don't know, 6 months? I don't remember exactly.
Cool.
So I finished Part 2, and a little achievement popped up, and it had a little diamond on it, and it was congratulating me on my impressive work against the Dark Lord.
Of course.
And it said a completed Part 2 of 2. But the scary part was, it tells you the percentage of gamers that get the achievement you've just unlocked.
Okay.
And this one was 1.8%.
That doesn't seem very high.
So 1.8% of people finished this game.
Wow.
Which means it's effectively a hidden Doom game.
Sure,
For Doom being maybe the preeminent FPS, I don't know. It feels like the preeminent single-player campaign shooter of this generation. This is basically a hidden entry in that franchise.
That's interesting. Does it feel like was it particularly hard to finish?
Yes, I mean it was. It is.
Okay.
It is a step up in difficulty from the campaign. I believe there were some patches rebalancing things along the way. But it in the discourse around this expansion, it's been cast aside as, oh, it's just an expansion. It's just more for more's sake for the diehards.
Okay.
I completely disagree with that. And my thesis here is not just that I have this hunch that Doom the Ancient Gods is the best Doom game I've ever played, but also that we need to talk about it as a sequel to Doom Eternal.
Okay, so like its own game and not like just an expansion.
I think it is its own entry in this franchise that needs to stand along Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, Doom the Ancient Gods as a volume of this story on your bookshelf.
That's interesting. And I know that's an ongoing debate, right? Like how do we define an expansion versus its own game? I mean, that was a whole song and dance with the Elden Ring. Elden? Yes.
Shadow of the Air Tree.
yeah, that expansion last year. So that's really interesting. Was this like in terms of like how long it took you and how much game content there was it sizable compared to the regular games?
Yeah, and I think I was trying to do some of the same math that I think you're doing here of what is the classic definition of a sequel for a game like this, because this is my bread and butter. This is what I was raised on. This is what like I said, it's vanishingly rare now that we get these sort of games. So I really try to rally around them. That's why I wanted to do episodes on these games, just to promote them and support them and make sure we keep getting more of them.
Yeah.
But Doom the Ancient Gods has a new campaign with new elements, gameplay elements, enemy elements that I'll talk about in a minute. It's got a lot more story, and like you said, it's of a similar length. So it's just to kind of hit those one at a time. Doom the Ancient Gods has whole reams of new story. I'm talking essential, central character twists. And it's stuff I don't see talked about, which goes to this point of 1.8% of people finished this expansion. But this is like game-changing stuff that they set up pretty early on. They introduce a big new enemy who becomes the final boss. And I feel like that enemy should be talked about way more in the fandom, and he just isn't. Which just means that most people have not played this fantastic expansion. Similarly, there are a lot of new gameplay elements. In our Doom Eternal episode, we talked a lot about oh shit buttons, which was kind of...
yes.
because the game is much harder. Eternal is much harder than 2016 because it is more demanding.
Right, that was an interesting conversation we had about how it forces you to be more thoughtful and creative and intentional and strategic with your shooting rather than just being, okay, I'll use the biggest gun all the time.
Right.
It was like I have to use this kind of weapon and this kind of strategy for this kind of enemy, and so that was like engaging but also harder, but you ended up loving it. So was that what was present here?
Yes, and I think they doubled down on it. There was kind of a confidence to the execution of that idea here because they had just successfully designed Eternal. I felt like the team was pushing themselves as much as Eternal felt like they were pushing the player, if that makes sense. There was a new oh shit button here, which I think compensated for the new level of difficulty. They gave you this big ass hammer where you jump into the. I have some of this running in the gameplay over on the YouTube version of this episode.
Oh, okay.
They gave you a hammer, so you would just jump in the air, because I really felt on the ground mobbed by enemies more than I did in Eternal, so I could jump up into the air and slam back down a hammer and just kill all the demons around me.
Well, that sounds really fun.
Which, as a shout out, something to bookmark for later, that's a Halo thing.
Oh,
Halo 3 introduced the gravity hammer, and this there were shades of gravity hammer. In the same way, I think there's more and more Halo sprinkled into this franchise.
Oh, okay. See, my only point of reference is like the Barbarian and Diablo and doing like a Hammer of the Ancients moment. There's one like big leap
Hota
thing where you jump and you like slam a hammer and it kills people, but that's very cool.
There were new enemy types too. And this is part of that intentional difficulty that you were talking about before. I really like that phrasing because it's a lot about pairing weapons and enemies. You constantly are running out of ammo in Eternal and in the Ancient Gods, but it feels like it's just nudging you to engage with combat as a puzzle.
Cool.
So it's not, hey, I only like the shotgun. Every other weapon feels bad, so now I have to use all these shit weapons against these enemies. It's, oh yeah, I remember, this guy has a blue shield, I need the plasma rifle, because if I shoot him for maybe 1 second with that, he explodes.
Ah, okay.
So it's cool. It's rewarding to pair those things.
Yeah.
But this Doom the Ancient Gods, it expands that. There are more modifiers. There are new kind of variations on enemies. There are whole cloth new enemies as well, but there's new armor on them. You know, you need X weapon against Y enemy. These basic enemies, these demons called imps, they have like a grayscale variant of them here, which I love for other reasons. But if you turn the basic combat shotgun onto full auto, so it fires like a machine gun, and it just kind of, it's so cool.
That sounds really cool.
It like rotates every time and just fires. Oh. That just rips through those specific demons.
Oh, cool.
So it's all problem solving.
Yeah.
And when you unlock the solution, when you solve the problem, it's cool.
Yeah.
Because you're just blowing your way through demons, and it's so satisfying. For being a game that is challenging, it has a level of instant gratification that I've never gotten from a puzzle game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, the joy of a puzzle game is the delayed gratification, but when you can get both in there, that's the perfect storm.
And that's, I think, why maybe I can call the Doom games my favorite puzzle games, because I don't have the patience or wherewithal for the rest of that genre.
Okay.
I know you do, but I don't.
Love a puzzle.
So Doom the Ancient Gods adds a level of variety and complexity to the already challenging combat encounters, and I think doubles down on that puzzle element. To the other thing you mentioned before, in terms of campaign length, if you add together both parts of Doom the Ancient Gods, you get roughly 10 hours. I'm kind of cribbing numbers here from toolongtobeat.com, which is a fantastic resource. Doom Eternal is about 14 hours. Doom 2016 is around 12 hours.
Okay.
So 10 hours, that's right up
that's
in
pretty,
that range.
That seems solidly there, yeah.
Also, some of those other ones do feel a little bloated. As a customer, I always want value for money. But when I'm replaying a game years later, where I'm already kind of happy with my purchase, I then realize, like, oh, this could be trimmed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
But did this expansion feel like that?
This felt perfect.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, you only played it once, but...
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
But hot off the heels of Eternal, I mean, getting 10 more hours of that basic combat loop felt great. I didn't feel bored. I didn't feel overly... I never felt comfortable. I had my ass kicked throughout this expansion.
Wonderful.
But to go back to that central thesis there, Doom the Ancient Gods is a sequel. I think in every way that counts. And as a sequel, as a new entry in the mainline Doom franchise, it rocks. It leans even harder into story, action, and just kind of basic entertainment, which sounds like a stupid thing to note in a discussion like this, but I think it's important.
Of course it is. Yeah, I mean, that's like your baseline.
Because for a game that's this challenging, I mean, I'm having like flashbacks here now. There are two of the most brutal punishing bosses I've ever played in an FPS.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, because I just replayed Doom 2016, which is actually going to be a bonus episode on our Patreon this Sunday, if you want to hear that discussion. But playing those boss fights are interesting because there are kind of hidden mechanics. You have to learn what's going on and whittle down the health bar, and then you move on to another level.
Right.
In Doom Eternal, you get multiple phases for bosses. So you whittle down the health bar, and then there's this little thing underneath the health bar, and that loses 1 light. And there are like 5 or 6
Oh,
light.
God, yeah.
So Doom the Ancient Gods has harder enemies and more phases. And it's be like 7 phases for a boss battle. And there'll be a checkpoint every few phases, but not every phase.
Okay. Are the phases different? Are they all unique?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. So you're not doing the same thing 7 times in a row.
It's not just that the boss will change the enemies they use, but the environment will change as well. It'll evolve. There'll be other little demons kind of bothering you when you're trying to run from the boss.
So the puzzle elements continue is what you're saying.
All of it stays fresh. And I think that's why I'm okay with this 10-hour runtime, because it never settles in. I think there are moments in Doom Eternal, and especially Doom 2016, where it just feels like more of the same. Like, it's good, and I'm happy to do more of it, but I feel like I've done it before. I think Doom the Ancient Gods has more of a relentless variety and experimentation. It feels a little fuller in that way. And as someone who gets frustrated at challenging games, I mean, I've played, I don't need to flex my bona fides here, but I've grinded through miserable endgame Destiny 2 content. I've played way too much of that game. Go check out those episodes.
Yeah.
Elden Ring, I'm good with difficult games, particularly shooters. And I really want to commend the balance in Doom the Ancient Gods and Doom Eternal by extension, because I overcame all of these challenges eventually. I felt like I was learning, and even if I died 6 phases into a 7-phase boss fight, I knew why.
Yes, that's so important. I think we've talked about this before, but like in difficulty, you have to feel like you're making progress even when you are failing, because otherwise there's no incentive to continue other than pure rage. And that, like, once you do finally, accomplish or beat something that has made you furious, like, that feels nice, but it feels way more nice if the whole experience was still like engaging and exciting and motivating and not just, horribly upsetting.
I think you get more invested in more difficult games.
Because, yeah, of course.
When I need to blow off steam, I really, no pun intended, I really like Vampire Survivors. All those Survivors type games, I play all of those on my Steam Deck.
Yes.
And those I get to blow through billions of enemies and just completely break the balance of the game because it resets every half hour.
Yeah.
Every run, you start over. But really difficult games, I have a much more intense relationship with. I'm thinking of when you get up there in difficulty in Dead Cells. That is a level of flow state and investment and reward.
Yeah.
Or I remember the first time I beat Hades. Particularly the final boss.
Oh, yeah, that is a really rewarding game. I mean, all roguelikes are rewarding like that because you're constantly dying.
Yes,
that's the point. And you have to redo everything you just did, maybe in a different way, not exactly what you just did. But yeah, Hades was so good about this. I always knew why I died. It was frustrating. And especially because, I got all the way to, the Minotaur, and now I got to go all the way back. That sucks. But it was really rewarding, and I always knew what I needed to do differently next time.
And I think there's almost an implicit agreement between the player and the developer. The more difficult the game is, the better it has to run.
Yeah, sure.
If you're going to challenge me, then you can't let down your side of the deal.
Right, otherwise this doesn't work.
If I die because the game stuttered, that's on you.
Right.
And then that feels cheap and I get frustrated. And one of the things I really love about these modern Doom games is that they're running on such a rock solid, cutting edge engine. Where the game never hiccups. It never flinches. It doesn't matter how many demons it throws at me, how big these vistas get. And the Ancient Gods has more of a sense of scale, I think, than the other two do. To the point where we're getting closer and closer in this franchise to being kind of a Halo-style cinematic action adventure.
Cool.
Where Doom 2016 felt like almost a corridor shooter, which is more contained, it's more linear, it's not big, wide open, complicated arenas, and then you switch over to Eternal, which is big arenas. I think the Ancient Gods pulls it in even a bigger direction. And like I talked about before with the Gravity Hammer, we're dropping Halo breadcrumbs along the way.
Okay.
I think to facilitate this expansion in scale. To the point that in the Ancient Gods, there's literally a beat at the end of a level where you walk over and press a button to activate these massive rings.
Oh, like Halo rings.
Like Halo rings, which is that's what it is. That's what the name means.
Okay. But did it feel like it was copying, or did
No.
it feel like, I don't know, member berries, or was it
In
just
the
like,
same
hey,
way-
here's what you love?
2016 was an expansion. I mean, it was a reinvention of the franchise, but it's constantly paying homage to design principles, to little cameos and ideas from the rest of the franchise.
The rest of the Doom franchise.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
As the modern Doom franchise continues, I feel like it's rolling in more and more homages and pieces of other successful, fantastic shooters
True.
in that canon.
Right, because the original Doom predates Halo by quite a lot.
Yes.
So that makes sense that they would have their own thing, and then they would start to integrate other influences as... Yeah, that makes sense.
I believe the original Doom predates me.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I think just barely, yeah.
But no, it's always been so respectful and honorific of Doom. I feel like it's extending that same respect to Halo now.
Okay,
And even the
interesting.
story, we're tinkering with world building. We're talking about the architects, the creators of this universe. That's very much a Halo thing, to flirt with those ideas constantly. But that world building, it just feels better here. Because I'll talk about this on that Patreon episode for Doom 2016, how I don't love the way the story is deployed to the player in that game. I think it was done better in Eternal, and I think it's done even better here in the Ancient Gods.
Nice.
Because I always felt like I was not just playing through the narrative instead of the game stopping and it being explained to me, but I felt like I was living what was happening.
Oh,
Because-
that's great. It's great when that happens. I feel like I don't feel that in games very often.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because some of those big-ass moments that are usually relegated to, Blizzard spent a ton of money on a cutscene at the beginning of a Diablo game just to sell you on it and set the tone.
Right.
There were so many moments where the camera would pull back, and it would, instead of throwing you the whole thing in a cutscene, it would hand you control again. Where the
nice.
camera would pull back, I would see the gun and realize I would get to play this section.
Oh, nice.
And that's where I really fell in love with this.
Very
And
God of War 2018,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
want to talk about why Doom the Ancient Gods matters, because I think of this as can't miss Doom. And part of that is story, like we've been saying. This is the next part of the mainline story. The timeline is a little wonky here, so I want to lay it out.
Okay.
Doom the Dark Ages, which is about to come out at the time of recording, is a prequel. That leads into Doom 2016, which leads into Doom Eternal, which leads into Doom the Ancient Gods.
Okay, got it.
So this might be, I mean, obviously there are going to be more Doom games. I feel like they might get a few more in between the Ancient Gods and 2016. But for right now, this is the finale of this story.
Okay. This expansion was.
And the
Yeah.
way it ends, it feels like, when they put Captain America on ice for a while and go play with other toys in the toy chest.
Sure.
It feels like it's putting to rest this era of the story. So it's not just a sequel to Doom Eternal, in my eyes, but it also feels like a finale to this modern generation of Doom. It completes that story, and what that means is I really think this is a grand finale to modern Doom. It completes the story in the same way some post-game expansions in the past have really stuck the landing. Fallout 3, we did an episode on a couple of years ago at this point, and I really, really loved that game. I remember playing it when it came out. I forgot that the base game just doesn't finish the campaign.
Oh.
And there were like 4 or 5 expansions to that game, which are all great in their own right. But one of them is just hey, we finished it. And
so what do you mean? Like it doesn't finish it?
Everything builds up to a big kind of ground war, big sweeping finale,
Yeah.
and the vanilla game just kind of doesn't.
Oh.
It happens a lot.
Okay.
So that final, I think it was Broken Steel. I think that's what it was called. That one gives you a finale to that main storyline. There's a big-ass robot walking through the wasteland, blowing stuff up. It's big and exciting, and it wraps everything into a bow in the way you wanted after
Sure.
playing through that campaign.
Sure.
I think Doom the Dark Ages kind of sits next to something like Broken Steel, even though it's much bigger.
Yeah.
Broken Steel is not the same length as Fallout 3, but Doom the Dark Ages is mostly the same length as Doom Eternal.
Okay.
Because it gives you that like Return of the King thing, where you want a widescreen, massive ground war finale to the story. There's so many campaign DLCs of the past generation that matter to a 30-year-old man like me. Halo ODST was like a standalone kind of spin-off campaign after Halo 3. And I always loved that. Gears 5 Hivebusters is a spin-off campaign after Gears 5 that's just a bunch of new characters and it's a standalone story. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is a roguelike expansion side sequel standalone thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I love campaign DLC. And it's like a hidden gem. These don't happen anymore. They canceled campaign DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, yeah.
Campaign DLC almost never happens anymore. And I mentioned Grand Theft Auto because it's so successful.
Yeah,
You'd think they could write a check for anything there. But studios are hesitant. And I know part of that is because, like I said at the beginning, 1.8% of players finished the expansion. But it's so good. And you can tell the team is firing on all cylinders here.
Yeah, it's so disappointing that so few people finished it. I mean, but I wonder how far most of those people really did get. Like, did they give up an hour in, or did they like give up at the end because it was too hard? You know?
I don't know. And I think that's a good point, because for a baseline game, I don't know what percentage of people finish it. And the bigger you get with a game, Elden Ring, maybe Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm sure most people don't roll credits on those.
Yeah, I want, you're right. Like, but I wonder how many people got to like 75%. You know, like how many people got that far?
Honestly, I get spooked when I see the stats about Call of Duty campaigns, because there was a while there. I mean, I've only ever played Call of Duty for the campaign. In college, I would play online with Tristan, which was great, but that's a different thing. That's like couch co-op, kind of. But the campaigns were always why I played Call of Duty. And there was a time there where they just stopped making campaigns because most people bought the game day one and never even touched the campaign.
Weird.
They just went to the online.
Yeah, I mean, I forget that a lot of people don't play games the way that I tend to play them, right? Like, you and I tend to like 100%. I mean, not everything we play, obviously, but we tend to like really value the work of art for what it is. We try to value the story and everything put into it. We try to experience everything that the game developers wanted us to experience. A lot of people don't do that. They're a la carte and like, well, I'll play this for a little bit and then I'll play something else. And like, they don't think about it all that much.
If I can, I'd like to 100% every game that I love just to see all of that world. Yeah. We did an episode on Final Fantasy 16. I 100%ed that game.
Right.
And I didn't even listen to it.
I was gonna say you skipped most of the cutscenes.
But I was that in love with that world that I wanted to see all of it.
Yeah.
And I think I had the same relationship with these Doom games. And I get the sense, reading between the lines, a lot of interviews, the game director Hugo Martin of Doom Eternal, and now I believe going into Doom the Dark Ages, pre-release, I've been devouring everything he said about this.
Of course.
The whole marketing campaign for Doom the Dark Ages is we're doubling down on what worked and seemingly what they want to do. So they're not throwing in any like half-assed multiplayer mode. In the same way they threw a multiplayer version into Doom 2016, no one really cared about it.
Okay. So
for this new game, they're completely marketing it as this is a big classic single-player campaign, and that's it.
Cool.
So as much as I'm slightly worried that not enough people played Doom the Ancient Gods, which I think is the best Doom game, I'm glad that didn't deter the team.
Okay, yeah,
because another example, just to kind of throw in the pot here, is Spider-Man from Insomniac. That had a great expansion called, I think, City That Never Sleeps. Nice. And I believe that was released in parts as well. And I really loved that expansion. Again, I 100%, I got the Platinum Trophy on that one on PS5.
Was that the one about Miles, or is that Spider-Man 2?
So there's a Miles spinoff.
Oh, okay.
It's a whole thing.
It's neither one.
And then Miles is also a lead in Spider-Man 2.
I shouldn't have tried to dive in. I apologize.
You get to play with some new kind of side villains and play in the world after the main campaign in that expansion.
Yeah, okay, neat.
But that expansion apparently did not do well for Insomniac to the point where they never did campaign DLC. They never did any expansion for Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay.
And there were some leaks that suggested they had stuff that might come out, and it just never did.
Yeah.
So I really want to celebrate these campaign expansions when they happen.
Yeah, even though only 1.8% of players completed it. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay,
and I'm glad that didn't deter this franchise from continuing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't a death knell here, because I really think Doom the Ancient Gods is essential viewing. For any Doom fan, I think this is the ultimate synthesis of the design philosophy that I thought they were perfecting in Eternal. But Doom the Ancient Gods whipped my ass and stunned me constantly.
Cool.
I mean, it's just staggering, tricky, intense, fantastic Doom. It throws down the gauntlet. There'll be so many. You'll think you're done with a combat encounter and a little door will open, and two of the hardest enemies you've ever fought will just sprint at you and kick your teeth in.
That's so fun.
Awesome.
Well, and it seems like this bodes really well for Doom: The Dark Ages. Not only that they continued to, make a new game for Doom, but that they seem to be following along. I mean, hard to say because you haven't played it yet, but they seem to be following in the lines of all the things that you loved about Doom Eternal and, of course, this expansion.
Yeah.
So, but also seems like they might be introducing some new things and new ideas as well. So
Totally.
That's really, really exciting.
And like the idea we talked about in the Doom Eternal discussion, I trust this team. I've seen some of their pre-release stuff, the way they're talking about Doom: The Dark Ages. It's going to be very different. It's not as fast, it's not as mobile, it's not as platformy as Doom Eternal was. I don't think you have the double jump and the dash and all the mobility platformery stuff that I fell in love with eventually.
Okay.
After 5 years of not really liking it.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be more grounded and simple, maybe more similar to 2016.
Okay. But you also loved 2016, right? So,
I did at the
that's
time.
Great.
I'll talk about my new impressions on it on that Patreon episode.
Okay.
But the bottom line is I trust this team.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited they get to keep making Doom games.
Yeah.
So please, if you haven't checked it out yet, and statistically you haven't, go play Doom: The Ancient Gods. I think it's one of the best single-player FPS campaigns you can get on the market right now.
That's really, really cool. And I'm sure with Doom: The Dark Ages about to come out, I'm sure a lot of players are like, oh, I wish I had more Doom to play right now. So this will be a great thing for them to do in the meantime.
It's also probably on sale.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably is. Expansions are already usually more affordable anyway, and then on top of that, it's been around for 5 years, so or 6 years, 4. Who cares? A while. Anyway, cool. Well, this has been fun. Let us know what you think of this Doom expansion if you've played it. If not, what are you excited about to dive into it? What are your thoughts on Doom: The Dark Ages as it's about to come out? What are your thoughts? What are your
My
hopes?
thoughts are it's pre-installed.
What are your hopes and dreams? Do tell. Cool. This has been fun. As Cam's been hinting at, we do have a Patreon. You can check us out over there for $2 a month. You can support the show and get. I think can we officially say it's 2 episodes a month now? Is that what we're committing to?
Baseline. But
Baseline
this month is
two.
our 5th anniversary.
Yes.
So we're doing an episode every Sunday for this month. We've already done multiple breakfast buffets. That's our roundup series with all sorts of whole smorgasbord of stuff. We did an episode on Jack White's current tour. We've seen all 3 shows in Austin. So it's kind of it's stitched together. It's like a 3-part odyssey
really
about
cool.
each of those shows. One of them we recorded here in the studio, like most of our episodes, and the other 2 we recorded in the car seconds after
Right
the encore
after.
ended. So it's got all of that crazy manic fan energy that you want in a discussion like that.
It is very fun.
The other one was a Cronenberg roundup.
That was
We're
cool.
really cranking out bonus episodes this month. There's a
so-
lot to see. And of course, the Doom 2016 discussion will be the next bonus episode on Patreon this coming Sunday.
Amazing. Yeah, do check us out there. And of course, if you like sci-fi, you'll probably like Cam's latest book, Lemon Tarts in Space. It is a light sci-fi dark comedy, and it is so much fun. It is Ridley Scott's Alien meets Monty Python. And it is a wonderful time. Cam's a very talented author, and we really thank you for your support on that book. You can read it as a regular book, paperback, ebook, whatever you choose, or you can listen to the fully produced audio drama if you just can't get enough of Cam's dulcet tones.
There's a level of tongue-in-cheek sci-fi gore in Lemon Tarts that is not influenced by the Doom games. There's definitely some of that DNA in there.
Perfect. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll catch you here in a few days with another brand new episode.